Let's talk about game 2 of the Lakers versus Wolves. I mentioned before that game number 2 is my favorite of every series, and it's because it really showcases how much of a chess match playoff series can be between two teams that are closely matched up, and that's how I feel about the Wolves and the Lakers. The Lakers going in to win a pivotal game 2. The numbers say that if you go down 0-3, you lose that series 93% of the time, and that doesn't account for a team that had home court advantage. So if they would have went into Staples, whatever the hell they call it nowadays, and lost 2-0, I would never publicly say that the series is over because they got LeBron James, Luka Doncic. But damn it, this number say that series is probably going to be over. So JJ Redick gets his first postseason win of his coaching career. Shout out to him. And I thought that the Lakers did a lot of things better in game number 2 versus game number 1. And I want to talk about that first. I thought that in game number 1, they didn't make the Minnesota Timberwolves think on either side of the floor. But let's talk about defensively first. Even if you did not watch game number 1, you were just a box score watcher, you could just see right here that the offense didn't have the Minnesota Timberwolves in rotation at all. Luka Doncic's final stat line is 37, 8, and 1 assist in game number 1. LeBron James had 3 assists, the lowest amount of assists he's had since I think they said 2014 on the broadcast. They had 33 made field goals, and only 15 of those were assisted. So even if you didn't watch this game, you could kind of think about who Luka Doncic is as a player and who these players are and be like, they must have really been matchup hunting for the entire game. And they did. It was good enough to get Luka Doncic scores 37, but it didn't have people in rotation enough to get the open three-point looks that Luka Doncic generates on a nightly basis. They played exactly the type of game that the Minnesota Timberwolves wanted them to play, and the Timberwolves took advantage of that. Right? They did not make them think. And in game number 2, it started off very early on. Luka Doncic in both of these games would come out in the first quarter and set the tone offensively. And in this one, the ball was swinging. It was driving and it was kicking. And it's like, Minnesota did not have an opportunity to have many mental lapses in game number 1 because the Lakers weren't doing anything. And in this game, there was a few times I'm like, damn, Julius, you got beat backdoor there. Damn, Mike Conley, I don't know if you can play in this game. So it just happened time and time again. And that is a huge step up from game number 1. And even on the defensive side of the ball for the Lakers, I didn't think they made the Minnesota Timberwolves think at all. One of the biggest X factors I had for the series was Anthony Edwards when he saw multiple bodies. And I feel like they just didn't throw enough different looks at Ant-Man in game number 1. And when they did throw some of these different looks, I thought that in this one, or in game number 1, Anthony Edwards was pretty quick. And I mentioned after game number 1, there was one of the more mature matchups I've seen him play, or games I've seen him play. They were pretty quick, and it led to a Naz Reid open 3 or a Jaden McDaniels open look. In this game, they was kind of smothering. Made him think. Really made him think by throwing late help, by sending them early before even a screen came. They really made Anthony Edwards think in this one. And that's really what you have to do. Because what we're seeing through these first couple games is a guy like Mike Conley, who in theory is perfect for a matchup like this on the offensive side of the ball, just can't really play that much. So they're asking for Anthony Edwards to be this primary ball handler. And guess what? In game number 2, I didn't even realize this, so I'm just looking at it right now. He has 0 assists. That's crazy. It's actually crazy. Now, one thing that you can, if you're a Minnesota Timberwolves fan, you're like, okay, I need something to grasp to, because again, this series is up for grabs. It can be anybody's series. It's the shooting variance between game number 1 and game number 2. Game number 1, you could not miss. You hit 23s. You shot whatever percentage from 3. And in this one, you were only 5 of 25. So I think that a lot of this series might boil down to some of that shooting variance. So like, again, the series is far from over, but I thought the Lakers did a pretty amazing job there. I can't wait until the morning where my super NBA stats nerds have these numbers, but I will say this publicly, and damn it, I'm not afraid to say it. I don't think that Luka Doncic hunting Rudy Gobert is really great offense for the Lakers. Yesterday, after game number 1, I was like, yeah, do it time and time again. But after what I've seen today, I thought they looked dramatically better when they were just playing. I don't know if it was freelance basketball, or it probably was more set-oriented. When they were moving that ball instead of letting Luka Doncic ISO against Rudy Gobert. Luka Doncic is one of the greatest ISO players of all time, and he got Rudy a few different times. But I think that for what it's worth, in isolation, Rudy Gobert held his own pretty well in this one. I thought that the Lakers' best offense was outside of that. Austin Reeves got him a few different times, and I think most of that is because Austin Reeves is just faster than Luka Doncic, right? Getting around that corner on Rudy Gobert is just easier if you're Austin Reeves versus Luka Doncic. But I feel like Minnesota felt very, very comfortable with saying, Luka, you want to switch on to Rudy Gobert? That's amazing, because we're going to stay home all these other places. Now, there were times in this game they didn't stay home, and Luka Doncic generated a couple Dorian Finney-Smith open looks. Some of them he made, some of them he didn't make. But I think that Minnesota, their game plan going into this is like, we're allowing you to do that. There's other times where they've seen Luka Doncic or Rudy Gobert seen Luka Doncic, and they kind of steered away from it. They're okay with it. Now, there are times when they did what the there's like a real technical term for this. Damian Lillard and them did this a lot today as well, where it's like a late switch or a quick switch. There's a real like technical term for it, where you would run a pick and roll and you would think you have a switch onto Rudy Gobert, but you have an offensive player that's close enough to Luka Doncic where they can quickly switch on the fly. Like Damian Lillard did that a lot, where he was put in the action, and instead of being a part of the action, he says, you come get it, and I'm just going to get your guy. That happened a few different times in this one, and I think it was pretty successful as well. But they really got the team to think, and I thought that was amazing. You got a better LeBron game. You got a better Austin Reeves game. You got some more shooters. I will say, I know he will have to play at least a few minutes in game number 3. I'm over the Jackson Hayes minutes, dog. I'm completely over it. I'm done. He had the most obvious goaltend of all time. And I don't know if he was more upset with himself or upset with the referee, but it was the most odd. That ball was so damn close to already coming down and so damn close to the rim that I don't know how anybody could be like, oh my God. He was pretty bad today. Jared Vanderbilt, also, I said that he was going to be an X factor. I didn't know where he would be able to fit on this team in this series. And today's game, he only got 8 minutes played. Mike Conley. This is something I want to say for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Sometimes in a playoff series, offensively, you're only as good as your weakest player, right? Rudy Gobert played 29 minutes a day. And like I mentioned, I thought he did a pretty damn good job in isolation versus Luka, all things considered, because it's fucking Luka Doncic. There's only so much you can really do. But on the other side of those things, again, sometimes you are only as good as your weakest offensive player. And one of the things I thought was so successful in game number 1 for the Minnesota Timberwolves was when Rudy Gobert was in foul trouble, and Mike Conley, there was no need for him to be on the court, because if Rudy Gobert can't play or isn't playing because of foul trouble, then there's no reason to have Mike Conley. We'll just rather go with the bigger players in Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Donte DiVincenzo. So having that 5-out spacing and having basically really 5 offensive threats on the court was good for Minnesota in game number 1. And today they played basically 30 minutes handicapped offensively. Because not only does Rudy Gobert have like the worst hands in NBA history, nobody passed him the ball because of that. So it's like, yeah, offensively, teams are just completely okay with not guarding him or not using a good defender on him. They're running small. I mean, they're not going to put a 6-foot guy, but like they'll have a Rui or they'll have a Doe. And as long as you get a solid box out, Rudy Gobert is not or has not been the offensive glass beast that he could be. So just an okay box out on him nullifies all of his like abilities. Like the screen assist thing is cool and all, but right now it's not really working. So sometimes you really are only as good as your weakest offensive player. But there's two sides of these things, because in this game, Naz Reid couldn't play. He couldn't stay on the floor. You know, he got into very early foul trouble. Same thing with Donte DiVincenzo. And, you know, this is the tough thing about being a coach. You have to try to find a way to manage these things, right? Can we still find a way for Naz Reid to get to 28 to 30 minutes if he can't stay out of foul trouble? Can we save some of these opportunities? And they ran out of opportunities eventually. Donte DiVincenzo came in and just started beating people over the head, got into foul trouble very early on as well. And I think he was just bad today in general. But like after game number 1, you want to see what is able to be done there. Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels had phenomenal game number 1. They couldn't miss. And in this one, Jaden McDaniels was 3 of 11 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3. It's just one of those things. Like I mentioned, that shooting variance is going to matter a ton. And if I'm Minnesota, I'm trying to figure out, and I would have to rewatch this game in the morning, which I will do. Go listen to Small Ball Kenny Beecham, where I'll go through all of this stuff again in more depth. I would have to figure out what can we do offensively if we are running our true starting lineup against this team, against this unit that's not playing a true center, that's really going small for, 42 of the 48 minutes of the game, because Jackson Hayes kind of stinks. Either way, I want 7 of these. I thought this was pretty cool. These two teams don't like each other, which I think is great. Julius Randle had a pretty good game today. Other than, again, him falling asleep on defense a couple different times, where I'm just watching somebody baseline run like he's Amen Thompson or Chris Dunn, and it's not even guys that normally do that. It's just like Julius Randle, just ball watch him at the end of the day. But I thought offensively, it was really just him and Anthony Edwards. The third leading scorer was Naz Reid at 9. Terrence Shannon Jr. gave them some really good minutes with the foul trouble of Donte DiVincenzo. I don't know if that's something you go to in game number 3 if Donte DiVincenzo is not in foul trouble, but I've liked Terrence Shannon since his college year or so, and even when he got some burn early in the season, that guy's a real NBA player. I just don't know if he's ready for these big moments, but Real NBA player. Okay, cool. Let's go to some of these other games. I hated that we got two games tip off like right after each other, 30 minutes later, and then they had the wrong game on national TV. The Thunder dominate the Grizzlies. People were tweeting me like, am I worried about Shea? Not even a little bit. There's no reason to be worried about Shea. Yeah, he took 29 shots to get 27 points. This team is so damn talented that he probably don't even have to play the rest of the series and they'll be okay. So I'm not worried about it. I think we're going to have some broader conversations about the Minnesota Timberwolves very soon about what happens with their big three because they're hella expensive, just not talented enough to do the finishing thing. And I just don't know what else you could really do if you're keeping that big three and also trying to win a championship. Like, it's not like combining Santi Aldama, Luke Kennard, and Marvin Bagley can get you Kevin Durant to add to that core three. We might see some real big adjustments once they lose. But again, that's a conversation for a future day. Damian Lillard was back. And I want to, before we even talk about this game, I want to tip my cap, not in the literal sense because I need a shape up real bad. I want to tip my cap to Damian Lillard because he just did something that I wouldn't have the balls to do. I don't care if I was medically cleared. He just played 37 minutes in a game 3 weeks after being diagnosed with a blood clot. The man is a fucking super soldier. Shout out to Damian Lillard. Unfortunately, it wasn't a very good game for Dame. And it makes sense he hasn't played basketball in 3 weeks, and they were talking about his conditioning and stuff. I feel for Giannis because you got a beautiful Bobby Portis game. I think he was 1 point away from his career high in the postseason. I feel like every time he took a shot, it was going in. They gave him so many different open looks. He had 28 and 12. You also got Kyle Kuzma providing 12 points, which is 12 more points than in the last game. I just thought that, like, if you're going to have this, and you can say, like, oh, man, just if Dame have a better game, we win this one. Maybe, but, like, they're kind of dead in the water in a way. And maybe I'm jumping the gun just a little bit, but the Pacers have looked like the better team. And now they played, 96 minutes against each other in this two-game series. I would say the Pacers have looked like the better team 93 minutes of that 96 minutes. Because the Pacers in both of these games had like a 3-minute stretch, 4-minute stretch where they just couldn't score. It just shows up. Have not had a field goal in 4 minutes. Other than that, the most overrated player in basketball, Tyrese Halliburton, had a really good game. So see what that's about. Pascal Siakam continues to be really good. Nembhard is great. I feel like every time they go through that drought, Miles Turner is the one to really get them out of it. But they, again, just picked apart this team. You want to know how insane this is? The Bucks shot 50% from the field and 40% from three on 35 three-point attempts. That's pretty fucking good, right? It just didn't matter. It didn't matter. They had a really efficient offensive game, but they can't stop anybody. And I wonder if Doc Rivers will come to the realization about his starting five unit. Because in theory, like this game started off with Miles Turner and Pascal scoring like the first 10 of 12 or something along those lines. In theory, running this big man lineup when it is Brook and it is Giannis and it is, Taurean Prince, like some bigger bodies alongside Damian Lillard makes sense because the Pacers are a bigger team. But that lineup through the first two games has been like the worst lineup they have put out on the floor, not equating for like garbage time. Their starting unit has not been able to get a stop. Offensively, it's fine, but they have not been able to get a stop. And teams are okay with loading up on Giannis and allowing. Oh no, this is outside the start five at this point. But teams have been able to, or the Pacers specifically have been able to just load up on Giannis. And Giannis again, his fighter stat line is 34, 18, and 7. He was amazing again. I just don't think, even though Kuzma had 12 points, he can play much with Giannis. He's just not being guarded. And they don't really have a better alternative. That's the one thing I can say from Doc Rivers. Like, if we don't play Kuzma, who are we going to play? Are we going to put Pat Connaughton out there? He's a little bit undersized for that. We going to put Pete Nance in the game? No. So I guess I can understand it. But, like, if you are the coach, if you're Rick Carlisle, you're also selling out on Giannis and saying, Kuzma, hit a shot. And Kuzma had a couple good finishes in this game, but he ain't hit a three just yet. I don't know if he's hit a three since January. I ain't gonna look at the stats. I'm gonna say it, but I don't think he's hit a three since January. So it just becomes tough. And I think overall, it may be coaching, it may be roster construction. It's just not looking amazing. I'm hoping that we at least get a Dame game because in my opinion, there's only a few players in basketball that are better to watch when they're hot than Damian Lillard. So maybe we get one. He did hit a big shot in this one. They were on their little run. But ultimately, that was it. All right, shout out to the Lakers for their wins, shout out to the Pacers, and shout out to the Thunder who might be able to rest their starters for the rest of this series.